today's generation, news media has a huge effect on people's point of view about certain issues. With the advanced technology that we have, news can be easily manipulated and point of views can be biased. Because of that, news media should not be the only source of information about current events, for they can easily mislead the audience when it comes to the reality of events.
Hi, my name is Eddie Correa. I'm a business management major, and I believe that the trust that we have in media platforms should be pretty low. I believe that no one should have solely one ideology or news platform that they take information from. There's a lot of narratives that get put on by different news channels on every side of the political spectrum, and if you really want to know what's going on, you have to do your own research.
According to the Pew Research Center, U.S. consumers would rather watch the news and would prefer to watch it on TV and not online. It is stated in the conclusion of the data that their viewing loyalties have yet to migrate fully to the web, the report says. Just over 4 in 10 U.S. adults, which is 44%, prefer TV, compared with about a third, which is 34%, who prefer the web. This shows that even though the trust in news media is low, people still go for the traditional news outlet.
News media focuses on delivering news to the general public. It can be print media, which are newspaper and news magazine companies, and broadcast news, which are radios and televisions, and lastly, and more recently, the internet, which are online newspaper and magazine and blogs about the news. The technology today made it easy for everyone to access the news, which sometimes is overwhelming. With all the news that we see and read, we react, without doing research, without looking at facts. News can't always be trusted, especially if the news wasn't provided, because they can show photos or videos and control how they want it to be seen. Time magazine received hates from the readers after they posted a misleading photo of a crying child with President Trump towering above her, with the caption, "Welcome to America," following a tweet, "A reckoning after Trump's border separation policy. What kind of country are we?" Dennis Valera claimed that his daughter was never separated from her mother. They stated that the girl was not carried away screaming by U.S. Border Patrol agents. Her mother picked her up and the two were taken away together. The photo or video posted was meant to show that the kid was separated by her mother, which is false. This shows that the news media companies controls how the news appears to the audience. With a striking photo and a bold caption, this will catch the eye of the audience.
I interviewed some students from Houston Community College and asked them, how much should people trust the news?
Okay, hi, my name is Abdullah. To some extent, I don't really trust the media a lot because sometimes they're controlled by businesses and they don't want you to know certain stuff. So this is the main reason why I don't trust TV and newspapers. That's it.
So my name is Christian Yancey. My major is business and marketing. And my answer for that, I believe that you should trust it a little bit because sometimes people be adding little lies to make the story a little juicy. So me personally, I really don't be trusting that because I be knowing the real story. So it depends on you if you want to believe it or not. But me personally, I don't really believe everything I hear. So that's my answer.
Fake news are all around us, and mostly we blame the social media for fake news. But there are cases that your favorite TV news channel, radio station, and newspaper spreads fake news because of lack of research. Most people who reads and watches the news to be updated doesn't check the social media for information. They go to the ones where people trust. But the problem is, what if your main source of news isn't reliable and their sources are questionable? Where do you seek the truth? News media platforms like TV, radio, newspaper, and etc. have an increasing rate of spreading fake news, which cause social media arguments and sometimes violence.
So for the question, do you trust the news media such as TV, newspaper, and radio?
Well, my name is Miriam, and I do not trust the media because they stir a lot of pots, they start a lot of drama, and sometimes they mix with fake news with the real news, and they also want to cause tension, sometimes like with war, like if there's like a Syria or with Palestine and Israel. Like, I don't trust the news at all. I do my own research to make sure it's 100% fact.
There are still some people who still believes in news media. They will say that it's better to know the news in these platforms than to go to the social media. Any news goes on a process and sent to different people to be reviewed and checked before they put it out on the audience. It means that the news are manipulated and altered before we see it. The audience won't see the reality of event because news media are filtered. There can be news blackout and complete manipulation of the news. But you shouldn't trust the social media too. But the main difference is that social media isn't filtered and pure personal opinion. You cannot fully trust them, but when they give opinions about something, it is their truth and unfiltered opinion.
So for the question, do you trust the news media such as TV, newspaper, and radio?
So mainly I feel like I get all my sources and all my information from social media. I trust that more than like TV as a source. I just feel like social media, there's no agenda behind it. I feel like they actually give like real stuff and it's like unfiltered versus the filtered. So I really like that about social media. So I feel like that's where I get my main source. And sometimes the bad thing about social media is that you don't always double check to see if it's right, so it can always be a hit or miss. But it's all I sometimes try to check, or like I'll try to Google for more information. But for the most part, it's all I always just look at it and then I just surface level.
A lot of it is sensationalized, and so there's a lot of it where you take with a grain of salt because there's so many different competing news outlets out there that have there's the problem I have is there's nothing in between. There's always you have news stations like Fox that are extremely right, to the right, and then you have stations like MSNBC that lean heavily to the left. So their views are kind of skewed in my sense because you have those that are pro-right and pro-left.
Everybody has a say in politics, religion, and other social issues. But news media cannot be biased to any. They should maintain neutral to social issues because everyone is an audience. With that, I believe that news media companies can be biased and only show their thoughts and point of view about a current issue. The job is to inform, not to persuade or make an argument. Just like CNN news anchor Erin Bernays' interview with Israeli Ambassador Ron Dermer, following President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. It was a case study in journalist expression of personal bias. According to the article, throughout the interview, her tone and at times her language is hostile and accusatory.
Out front now, the Israeli ambassador to the United States, Ron Dermer. And Ambassador, good to have you back on the show. Look, I know this is a day you have wanted for a very long time, and I know it matters a lot to you. So that is important. But of course, the situation that we're seeing now is crucial. The State Department warning of violence because of the move. Leaders from countries throughout the region, across Europe, warning of violence. Palestinians calling for 3 days of rage. A crucial question for you tonight, Ambassador. Are you willing to accept violence and the possible death of Israelis in exchange for getting what you have so long desired?
Well, obviously, we never want violence, Erin, in our security forces.
With this, we can all see and hear the tone that she's using in the interview. This shows that the host is giving a message to the viewers that the Israel is the one to blame for the violence against it, and Israeli government officials are not to be trusted. As we can see, news reporters, hosts, and even the company itself can be biased and subjective to certain issues or people. it will be hard for the audience to see both sides of the issue if they are only given one. People won't be able to come up with an accurate conclusion and understanding. Most likely, they will just agree with what is stated. Some people might argue that news media is more trustworthy because they have people who studied and graduated for journalism or media broadcasting.
What is the difference between pictures in news and pictures on social media? So the pictures in news, I believe it has more credibility, because there's journalists behind it and there's actual people out in the field researching the material. While social media, anybody can post something on social media and give it a fake caption and, change the whole idea of what the picture's behind. And what makes the newspaper more credible? Again, the journalists, those people actually have college degrees in journalism, so they actually have the background and the knowledge they need to get the sources for the material.
But we have to think that when they show us news, it is not just straight up facts. How the journalists understand and comprehend the story or a picture is included in how they broadcast the news. With this, it shows that journalists and photojournalists can be biased and use their personal opinions in giving news. Last but not the least, news media platforms release news just to receive a reaction to the people. In the essay The Boston Photographs by Nora Ephron, it is stated that the Post editors justified their printing of the Boston pictures with several arguments. In that direction, every one of them is irrelevant. The pictures don't show anything about slum life. The incident could have happened anywhere, and it did. It is extremely unlikely that anyone who saw them rushed out and had this fire escape strengthened. And the pictures were not news. At least they were not national news. It is not news in Washington or New York or Los Angeles that a woman was killed in a Boston fire. The only newsworthy thing about these pictures is that they were taken. These photos were released to the public because it shows an upcoming death, which is uncomfortable but intriguing to the public. These were not released to inform or warn. It is to show the people that these photos exist and people should see this. And when you want to show something, you want a reaction. The author stated on the last part of the essay, they deserve to be printed because they are great pictures, breathtaking pictures of something that happened. That they disturb readers is exactly as it should be.
Most news companies, they just sometimes they give news because they know it's just gonna cause an argument. They don't give accurate news, and they just want to start a discussion, something like that, just so they could sell their papers or
In conclusion, news media platforms such as TV, radio, and newspapers can't be the main and only source of news of the people. Research must be done, articles should be compared, and sources must be checked before coming up with your own conclusion and making an action. Before we take sides in a situation or an issue, we have to know beyond what is given to us. Doing research and checking facts will prevent an individual to be a victim of fake news. Let's all be curious, no more than the surface area, and you will make better judgments. Technology today helps news media to be accessible and quick, but that shouldn't hinder us from doing our research. People should not settle for one source of news. They should not accept the first information they see. They must always seek for knowledge and